Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland, with me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, hello and welcome to the Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast. I'm Kelly and I'm your host. And you might have guessed by the title of this episode, but we are going into part 3 of a 3-part series all about wedding ceremonies. And we've had 5 amazing questions, and we're going to have 5 amazing wedding suppliers who are going to answer the questions all about wedding ceremonies. So last week's episode was all about the content of wedding ceremonies. So if you haven't listened to that, you should catch up on that one at any point. You don't have to listen to the episodes in order. But last week was all about the content of your wedding ceremony. So things like how to personalize your ceremony, how to include your children, your guests in your ceremony, even the ones who are shy, ways you can inject some Irish tradition into your ceremony, all of that kind of thing to do with wedding ceremony content. But today's episode is all about wedding ceremonies and things being legal. So these are the 5 questions that we're going to answer in today's episode. When should I begin the process with the HSE? How do I make sure that the legalities are carried out correctly? What will happen at my intent to marry appointment? Do you have to register your intent to marry in the county you intend to get married in? And question number 5, are there any restrictions when it comes to civil ceremonies? So if you want to know things to do with the legal side of things, this episode is the one for you because we're going through it. So why don't we get started with question number 1, which is, when should I begin the process with the HSE? And we have the amazing Keane Harley who's going to answer the question for us. Take a listen to find out more.
I'm Keane Harley, humanist celebrant accredited with the HAI and legal marriage solemnizer registered with the HSE. The question I'm asked is, when do you contact the HSE to notify them of your marriage? Well, this basically depends on your wedding date. Once you've selected and confirmed your date, you must give the HSE at least 3 months' notice of your intention to get married. So you'll need confirmation from your celebrant. In my case, you make an inquiry through Weddings Online or the humanism.ie website, and then confirm with me once I get back to you. You'll also need a venue confirmed, of course, and don't forget to confirm with the principal players involved in the wedding, like family and witnesses, the wedding party, and so on. Most couples are making their plans way before 90 days out from the wedding date, so if you're extremely well organised, you might have everything lined up more than a year out, but I would say that's a little early to contact the HSE. Ideally, about 6 months to a year before your date, you contact a local registrar, either local to where you live or local to the venue. If you're under pressure and can't get through, you can actually contact any registrar. They prefer a phone call to set up an appointment, and then they'll send out a notification of marriage form, which you fill in and email or post back to them. You can make the booking online. The website is pretty functional, not exactly user-friendly, but if both of you are Irish and not previously married, it's all very straightforward, so online is fine. And the page to go to, by the way, is crsappointments.ie. Anything other than that, I would absolutely advise you to contact a registrar by phone, and you can find them on the HSE website.
Well, why don't we move on to question number 2, which is, how do I make sure that the legalities are carried out correctly? And we have the amazing Brenda Grady, who's given a brilliant answer to this question, which is going to help you to make sure everything is correct. So take a listen to this.
Hi, my name is Reverend Brenda O'Grady. I'm a wedding solemnizer and family celebrant, a One World interfaith minister. I will collaborate with you to create your bespoke legal wedding ceremony. It is my role to ensure that the legalities of your marriage are carried out correctly. I do this by reminding you at every meeting, don't forget your green folder, as we cannot go ahead with your marriage without it. When I receive your green folder, that is your marriage registration form from you, at least a half an hour before your ceremony, I check that all of the details are correct. If there are any amendments, such as change of celebrant or witnesses, I make those amendments. After you've exchanged your chosen vows, exchanged your rings, I have solemnized your marriage and pronounced you married, I then sign the marriage registration form. I ensure that you sign the form in the correct place and that your signatures match those on page 1. I also ensure that your witnesses are named correctly and that they sign in the correct place. I make sure that if there are any amendments to the form, that you verify these amendments and that both of you, your witnesses, and I initial each of these. After your ceremony, I will hand one of you the green folder, usually in a bag with your candles and other bits and pieces from your ceremony, and I remind you that it has to be returned to the HSE within 30 days. So, if you want an extremely personal, solemn but fun legal wedding ceremony, I will be happy to explore your options with you if you reach out to me, Reverend Brenda O'Grady. Finally, don't forget your green folder.
Well, why don't we move on to question number 3, which is what will happen at my intent to marry appointment? Well, thanks to Lorraine Walker, we have the answer for you. Why don't you take a listen to find out?
Hi, my name is Lorraine from Lorraine Walker Celebrants. When you attend your meeting with the HSE for your intent to marry, you will be asked for your ID, for your PPS number, for your witness's date of birth, and your proof of address and other information which is listed on the HSE website, How to Get Married in Ireland. The HSE people are absolutely lovely and they want the very best for you. Their offices are all over the country, births, deaths and marriages. You will have to apply to these offices. The both of you must attend this meeting and you will receive your green folder on the day. When you receive your green folder, off you go for a lovely lunch and celebrate being in the Green Folder Club. Good luck.
And on to question number 4. Do you have to register your intent to marry in the county that you intend to get married in? Brian Twomey answered this question for us and it's very informative, so take a listen to this.
Hi, my name is Brian Twomey and I'm a celebrant and legal wedding solemniser with One Spirit Ireland, and I've been asked to answer a question today, and it's, do you have to register your intent to marry in the county you intend to get married in? And the simple answer is no, you don't. For example, I'm based in Cork, so if you were in Dublin or Donegal or Kerry and you wanted to come to Cork, you could register your intent in your own county where you live. There would be several registration offices. Those registration offices are the births, deaths and marriages offices. The HSE run them. The HSE also have a very useful wedding site, www.hse.ie. A lot of information on their website about getting married and all the different things you need. You do need to give 3 months notice. Really important that you don't leave it just to the bare minimum 3 months notice. You need to give plenty of notice. You know, if you're getting married in 12 months' time, go about getting your appointment. Now, there is an online system. Again, they get booked out fairly quickly, so get in there and get your appointment online. Ideally, if you have all your documents, when you go in there, you will walk out with that magic green folder. But my advice would be to get on the HSE website, get tooled up, see what you need to do, get the documents together, and away you go. So bottom line is you can register your intent to marry in any county you want, and also when you get married, after you get married, you can lodge the green book in any office you want.
And our final question for this episode and in this series is, are there any restrictions when it comes to civil ceremonies? So let's have a listen to what Steve Rawson had to say about that.
Hi there, it's Steve Rawson, Humanist Celebrant here from humanistcelebrant.ireland.ie. When it comes to restrictions on civil ceremonies, the most obvious restrictions for civil ceremonies is that if you choose a civil registrar, they only operate working hours Monday to Friday, whereas humanist celebrants and others can marry you anytime and specifically at weekends on Saturdays and Sundays. So a humanist celebrant and others gives you far greater scope and flexibility. Now, with regard to venues, the venue you choose must be open to the public. So obvious venues would be hotels, bars, restaurants and galleries, or outside in open spaces attached to these venues. But ultimately, the civil registrar will be the person who decides whether the venue you've chosen is a viable one. So when you go to and have your appointment with your civil registrar, two of the key questions they will ask you is, who is marrying you and where do you intend to get married? And they will decide and let you know if that venue is appropriate. Now, for further information on this, I have a section on my website, which is humanistcelebrantireland.ie, and it's on how to get married in Ireland. Hope all this helps. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That's all 5 questions in today's episode. And I know that when it comes to the legal side of things, especially when it's getting legally married in Ireland, there are a lot of different timelines. There's some suggested timelines. Some people have slightly different opinions on what is considered too far out. But when it comes to the legal side of things, there's quite a lot of information to absorb. And so we have a written excerpt of this blog post. Actually, every week we release a new blog post, and each episode has a written section where, all the information that you've just heard, you can see in writing. If that's easier to absorb, if you want to go have a look at some of the links that our amazing guest experts have listed, I highly recommend going to weddingsonline.ie/blog. And there's a whole section called podcast, and you'll see all the episodes there where you can listen to them. You can click on the different links. You can read all the answers. So if you prefer the written section, go and have a look at that. Well, thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists, and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.